August 30th, 1847, a small band of men moved through the quiet Sierra Nevada foothills. Leading them was James W. Marshall, a Mexican-American war veteran and millwright from New Jersey. After months of searching, Marshall chose the small valley of Coloma along the banks of the American River to build the lumber mill that was desperately needed to supply John Sutter's fort some 30 miles away. Among the men who joined Marshall's sawmill camp were the members of the Mormon Battalion, sent to California during the Mexican-American War of 1846 to 1847. They were on their way home to Salt Lake City, stopping along the way at Sutter's fort. Sutter offered the men work and pay.
Sunday, October the 3rd. Last Monday, Sutter sent after some hands to go up into the mountains, about 30 miles to work at his sawmill, and I, with several others, went. We was 3 days ago in there, as we had an ox team which was very slow.
The men worked for months in the isolated land, diverting the river and constructing the mill.
The country around the mill site looked wild and lonesome, surrounded by high mountains on the south side of the river. The mountains were densely covered with pine, white oak, and low down the live oak. While on the north side there was not so much timber, the mountains were more abrupt and rocky.
Soon winter settled in. Christmas of 1847 was cold and lonely in the valley. Mrs. Weimer cooked dinner. Henry Bigler gave a sermon. James Marshall was away at Sutter's fort, retrieving much-needed supplies. In his absence, Marshall left instructions that a portion of the mill's tail race should be deepened. The work kept the men busy until Marshall's return on January 23rd. On the clear, chilly morning of January 24th, 1848, Marshall rose early to inspect the new work done in his absence.
I went down as usual and, after shutting off the water from the race, stepped into it near the lower end. About 6 inches beneath the surface of the water, I discovered the gold. I then collected 4 or 5 pieces and went up to Mr. Scott with a piece in my hand and said, "I've found it!" "What is it?" inquired Scott. "Gold," I answered. "Oh no," returned Scott. "That can't be," I replied positively. "I know it to be nothing else."
Every man gathered instantly around us. On the top of the hat crown lay the pure stuff.
After asking the men to keep the discovery to themselves, James Marshall left the camp for Sutter's fort with his find. On January 28th, he and John Sutter set about the task of testing the specimen.
Marshall asked me if the door was locked. I said no, but I will lock it. Then Marshall pulled out of his pocket a white cotton rag, which contained something rolled up in it. I carefully examined it and said to him, "Well, it looks so. We will try it." Marshall asked me if I had any silver. I said yes, and produced a few dollars. Then we put in an equal weight of gold on one side and silver in another, and dropping the two in bowls of water. The gold went down and outweighed the silver underwater. Then I said to him, "I believe this is the finest kind of gold."
Throughout January and February, one of the workmen, Henry Bigler, found excuses to leave the camp and search for gold out of sight from the other men. On February 12th, he made the announcement that he was going duck hunting. Instead, he crossed the frigid rapids of the American River and discovered, on the other side, particles of gold beneath the water. Bigler continued to go out alone, but within a couple weeks, the other men had grown suspicious of Bigler's trophyless hunting trips. He showed them the gold he had discovered.
I seemed to be the only one in the crowd that had gold get badly on the brain. I wrote to Jesse Martin, Israel Evans, and Ephraim Green, 3 messmates of mine while in the battalion, who were at work on Sutter's flour mill, and informed them that we had found gold at the sawmill, but to keep it to themselves unless it would be to someone who could keep a secret.
Henry Bigler would become known as the first prospector. His discoveries confirmed that Marshall's find would not be the only. It wasn't long until the other men also felt the lure of the gold.
Mr. Marshall has gave us the privilege of hunting gold and having half we find, and we are going to take the opportunity. I have something like $30 of gold.
Despite promises to keep secrets, on March 15, 1848, the news of the gold discovery was published in The Californian, a small San Francisco newspaper.
Gold mine found. In the newly made raceway of the sawmill, recently erected by Captain Sutter on the American Fork, gold has been found in considerable quantities. One person brought $30 worth up to New Helvetia, gathered there in a short time. California, no doubt, is rich in mineral wealth. Great chances here for scientific capitalists. Gold has been found in almost every part of the country.
Charles Bennett was the first to leave work at the sawmill and prospect for gold, followed by Bigler and the others. By early April, the valley was being populated by men looking for gold. Among the visitors to see the area were a newspaper man from San Francisco, Edward Kemble, Military Governor Richard Mason, Lieutenant William T. Sherman, and General John Bidwell, who had previously attempted to find gold in California. Samuel Brannan, a newspaper man and Mormon settler, also owned the only store between San Francisco and Coloma. On May 12, 1848, he ran through the streets of San Francisco shouting, "Gold, gold, gold from the American River." He would become the first millionaire of the gold rush, making most of his profits from the ill-equipped miners. As prospectors rushed into the Coloma Valley and mining camps sprang up throughout the foothills, Azariah Smith and the other members of the Mormon Battalion resumed their journey home to Salt Lake City, Utah. Azariah Smith would later announce that he never regretted leaving the mines and never wished himself back there. But those leaving were the exception. The little fishing port of San Francisco was full of men disembarking from all corners of the globe, and the Sierra Nevada soon filled with the sounds of men pouring over the mountains. Not even the state capital of Monterey could hold on to its men. Within months of the discovery, James Marshall's sawmill had been completely abandoned. John Sutter's fort was overrun with squatters and thieves. A bustling new city grew in the Coloma Valley. Marshall was pushed out. It was every man for himself. On December 5, 1848, President Polk confirmed the gold strike to Congress, prompting even more men to head to the gold fields. They would become nicknamed the 49ers. James Marshall's first discovery would be his last. He died in poverty only a few miles away from where his sawmill, which held so much hope for him, had crumbled to the river. He is buried on the top of a hill in Coloma, overlooking the valley. There, a statue of him points to the location of his gold discovery.